You can set it right there.
Perfect.
All right, I think we are live. Don't you think we're live?
I hope so. I hope we're
that
live.
took a little something, but
Woo!
we are there. We are live now.
Hey guys!
So great to be back. Oh, so here, let's see if we can angle this just a little bit more to get a little bit of the background. Oh, there we go. Look at that.
Perfect.
It's at nightlightstories.net.
Nightlight Stories. There we are.
Hey, welcome back, Miss Mel.
Welcome back. How are you?
All right, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. We are.
I think the camera's right here. That's what we want to look at.
So, is anybody else joining us? If you are, you can just let us know, and we will
hopefully interact
with you. Okay, so few things we wanted to talk about while we're here.
Remember, the camera's right down here.
Yes.
Not up here.
I know, because
we have a laptop up behind us.
We have a laptop up behind us, and we are so used to doing Google Meets because of our jobs.
Right.
Which have been absolutely crazy lately.
Yeah, everything has been on video conference, of course, because if you're joining us live, you know that this is right in the middle of the global pandemic.
Yes, exactly.
So, Miss Mel, what have we been up to?
Wow. So it's been a while since we were on with Nightlight Stories, and the global pandemic came up, and we decided it's time. It's time that we bring it back. Mm-hmm. So our last story was in 2012.
Yeah.
So what have we been doing since then, Mr. Chris? We've been,
kids are growing up fast.
We have a 14 and a 12-year-old now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And if you were with us back in the early days of Nightlight Stories, the kids were quite young
yes.
Back then.
Maggie was 5 months old when we started it.
These podcasts and these stories were really born out of us telling stories to the kids. You remember laying in bed and just making up stories, and they said, we should write some of these down. And then we did, and put them out as podcast episodes.
And then the other thing we did was I went back to work.
You did?
I did. I went back full-time to be a special educator, and this time I went to a high school.
You did? You're working at a high school. That's big difference.
So everyone was taller than me at all times. And so I went back and I taught conceptual physics with my team teacher, and I taught English 11, which is 11th grade English, and I taught our science, and I taught chemistry, and I taught reading, and I think I was in a math class at one point. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I did a lot of team teaching, had a lot of fun. What have you been up to? I mean,
Well, I got to write another book. So I think at the time when Nightlight Stories had come out in when we ended in 2012, there was the Practical and Fun Guide to Assistive Technology.
The Orange Book, yeah.
The Orange Book that I co-authored with Sally Norton-Dar. And this one is a solo venture. It is the new assistive tech, Make Learning Awesome for All. So never, ever stopped writing. I think that's a big message we want to say to all the kids that might be watching either now or in the future, is that never, ever stop writing. And we have continued to write,
Yes. Yes. So why'd we come back?
Well, so here's the quick story, I think.
Yeah.
The quick story is that we were asked back all those years ago to write a novella for the publishing company that publishes this book, the International Society for Technology and Education. They were pursuing this notion of writing stories, fiction stories, to help kids learn technology. And so they knew we were doing these stories, the Nightlight Stories, and I had worked with them previously, and they knew we were reliable people that would put out something decent. And so they asked us to pitch them a couple ideas of stories somewhere in the range of like 4th, 5th, or later elementary school, where the story centered around kids using technology in some way. The idea being that kids would learn how to use technology by reading stories about kids using technology. So you and I got together, we sat down. Do you remember how many times did we brainstorm? We had a whole list of ideas, and we pitched a few to ISTE, worked with them very closely, and they said, this is the one we think we want to go with. And it is the one that is called the cloud. So well before Google and video streaming and everything, we sort of knew that cloud-based technologies were going to be a big thing. Storage was going to be a big thing. and kids working on computers was going to be a
Yeah.
big thing.
Yeah.
And so we went off and we wrote this story about
did.
4 kids. I mean, there's actually lots of kids in the story,
Yeah.
but it's 4 main kids
Right.
that, and I think we like to say it has a
Scooby-Doo.
Scooby-Doo sort of vibe, that it's, the kids try and solve some sort of mystery using technology. And we pulled it off. We actually wrote this, it's a novella length. So
25. We're 25 chapters. Carrie Wynn is watching. Hi, Carrie.
yeah, there's 25 chapters. I think, we call it a novella.
Yes.
But it's right in there it's like a chapter book. It's
It
like a
is.
chapter book for students that are, 3rd, 4th, 5th grade, 6th grade. So we wrote it and we gave it to ISTE and they absolutely loved it. The editor was like, this is great. This is exactly what we were looking for. But our board of directors has decided that
Sorry.
But our board of directors has decided that we are not going to do fiction. We are going to stick with nonfiction books like this one. Hey, Mr. Chris, do you want to write one of these? And so we wrote one of those. But we had this book. It was completely finished, and it's just been sitting.
Yes.
I think authors call it it's a chest novel. It sits in your drawer or it's in your chest. And then with the pandemic, we said,
Hey, let's pull this back out. And so the kids, everybody, it stopped. I want to say hi to everybody that's watching. Hi, Tony, and hi, Kinley. And so I said to Chris, we're working a ton, but we don't have to bring the kids here, there, and everywhere right now because we don't have to because everything's shut down. So what we did was we pulled out the cloud and I said to Mr. Chris, let's do it.
Luckily, since we put it in a drawer, that wasn't the last time we had touched it. We had broken it out and looked at it, and we had edited it, and that's how any good writing actually happens. It's not the first thing you put out on the page. You go over it and over it and over it, and you make it better.
And you ask a friend to read it. So we asked many of your friends to read it. They gave some really awesome feedback. So thank you, Chris and Mike.
Mm-hmm.
And
Miss Siobhan.
And Miss Siobhan, who is an actual
editor
for her life, she gave some awesome feedback as well. So so that's what we've been up to, raising kids just like everyone else, running them here, there, and everywhere, and working like mad people. So, and Chris is still presenting. I started teaching at a college. So it's not like we've been just kind of having some downtime, but the whole time we have missed being with you all. So we're super excited. So the book has 25 chapters. So we're putting each chapter out as an episode.
Because sometimes it's a little shorter and we're like,
Yeah.
well, maybe we can combine these two, but yeah.
Right. And so once we got the ball rolling, our loyal listeners came right back, which was pretty awesome to see and very heartwarming. Hi, Tracy.
And Miss Capsule.
Oh, it's Miss Capsule. And so what I wanted to tell you is what the kids have been doing. So I know that you guys have all your kids at home, and I know that you're probably doing the same thing. And when we brought this up to the kids, they were so excited to be part of this. So we created a spreadsheet, and we called ourselves Team Nightlight, and everybody took a chapter. And
well, really, I didn't. It was just
the three of us, because we had just started being home, so we didn't know how long we were going to be here. So we each took a chapter, and then we just every 3 chapters just kept doing. We did the vocabulary, the comprehension questions, and what I really wanted, what my goal was to get from a kid's perspective, like, what activities do you want to see? What words really kind of stand out to you? What would you like to see on the blog? So that has been so fun and so helpful. And so our son does the blog for us. And then Maggie does a lot of artwork and just making sure that things look okay.
And proofreading.
It's fantastic. So she's also been she taught herself to finger knit through this pandemic. And
Well, that's one of the things that I think a big takeaway of this is that we looked at each other and said, well, what can we do to help? And as a family, we said, what can we do to help?
how
And
can we contribute?
how can we contribute back to the society that, what can we do to help, really, is it, right? And
So many people were doing so many amazing things out there, and
Yeah.
we wanted to be part of it. I mean, if you look, the mask making, the creation of the shield that my teacher does at our school, just reading at night to kids, the teachers that go and visit their kids that are having trouble, and
so we said
pretty
this is
awesome.
something that we knew we could help with, is we
Yeah.
could bring back these stories, bring back this new story that has been sitting in the drawer for all of these years.
Yes.
And this is something we really wanted our kids to have a feeling for, is like, what can we do? What can we do to contribute? And it's really been about, I think the last couple of weeks for us has been about making, right? Like, so it's, okay, we've got these stories, we're going to make the stories. Maggie, you said she's been learning how to finger knit, and that's making something, she's knitting with her fingers.
Yeah, and painting quite a bit.
Painting so many, and she's been leaving like little rocks and messages around the community and the neighborhood that she has painted. So she's learning new stuff, she's making new stuff. Tucker with the writing, and then of course Tucker's doing a lot of work on the blog, right?
Yes.
He's actually the person that is doing the most
Keeping
of the work
it
that
up.
you're seeing on the blog every time a new episode comes out.
Yeah.
So
So helpful.
we ask you kids, while you're watching, if you're watching Mr. Chris and Miss Mel, what can you do to help? Can you help your parents by doing the dishes or the laundry, or can you just clean up your rooms? And in these small ways, it really makes a big difference in making people happier and healthier and
working as a team.
working as a team. Yeah,
Right.
absolutely. So ask what you can do to help.
Yeah. And so what we started as a family, we found this helpful, and I don't know if I'd love to hear what your family's doing. I'm going to put that up on the blog, but we started you have to do 3 in order to get screen. And so they have to, they came up with the
What's it called?
activities.
3 before screen?
3 before screen. And so it was, they came up with everything. It's somebody does the dishes, somebody does the laundry, somebody wipes down the bathrooms, somebody, you play your tuba, you sing for mom, you sing for dad, so all of these things. And the
You
kids
listen to a
enjoy-
story.
You listen to a story, you
And then
read
you
a
come
story.
tell us what
Yeah,
did
you
what
write
did you
a
listen
story.
to? Or you write a story, exactly. But you do these 3 things, 3 things that help out either your own learning or helping someone out in your family or contributing out in a wider world. But you do these at least 3 things before you go and you consume something from a screen.
Yeah. Awesome. So, all right. So, Mr. Chris and I are checklist makers. Hey, Jeanette. And so we made a list. It's behind there.
Things to talk
Let's
about,
see.
right?
So, the blog. So when we were bringing back the blog, the kids said, it would be really, really cool if we followed along on the clues with the kids in the story. And so I won't give anything away, but if you go to the blog, we're only on chapter 7, and each episode is about 16 minutes long. So,
And that's a little bit of us talking at the beginning, too.
Yeah,
The
just-
story element's not quite that
Right.
long.
but also just getting resources out there that we're finding helpful as a family. And I would just love it if everybody shared. So we're going to hopefully get some posts on that out soon, because I know that especially the people that are joining here on live are all very creative human beings. And so just knowing what's working for you. So we put out a new Clues Corner, which is you follow along in the clues, because the book is a bit of a mystery kind of theme. And so we're posting those clues. And then in the book, there's an actual website for their classroom. And so we actually recreated that website so that your kids can become part of the class. The other thing is vocabulary. We have some fun activities that they can do, create some things. And I think that...
Yeah, so make sure you check out the blog. It's
Yeah.
nightlightstories.net, and it updates every time we put out a new chapter, really, or new episode, because like I said, sometimes there are 2 chapters in one, but that's rare. Mostly it's an episode and a chapter are the
Right.
same. Cool. What else do we have started?
Well, Miss Mel is doing the editing now. So, whew. Okay, so Mr.
What do you mean the editing?
Well, I'm going to tell you.
Okay.
So, long ago and far away, I would be in charge of the blog before the kids were, the kids were 3 and 0, right? So I was in charge of, that was our breakup of our Nightlight Stories. I would record, we'd write it together. You'd put the finishing touches on. We'd record our beginning, then I'd record the story, and then
I would do the audio editing.
So when I took this on and said to Chris, we got to do this. Well, Chris has a podcast of his own that he pairs up with a wonderful human being in order to do that, and Rachel. And so
that's called Talking with Tech, and that's for students who use communication devices.
Yeah.
So I'm busy with that podcast and the book and doing presentations and doing more writing for secret projects that we can't talk about yet. And so
I decided that was going to be my new thing because I didn't have enough on my plate. So I just figured, why not add editing? But honestly, I really do love learning something new. So I've been editing, so I really, really, really appreciate the patience of the little blips here and there. But Chris has given me some good techniques to use. Thanks. And so you might hear some things twice in there, but just enjoy them. Just until I get it down pat. And great job for all those years, because
Thank you. Well, you're doing a great job.
I love it. So upcoming.
Well, there's one other thing that we should talk about, and that is if you haven't seen us, record in a long time, we are in our closet right now, hidden behind the pick us up.
I'll show you our fancy. Let me show you
see,
our.
There's the clothes and everything, and you can see the high-tech equipment here. We've got a towel to absorb some of the sound, so you don't get the big echo.
We're fancy. We're fancy.
So, it didn't like that at all.
It was angry.
It was
angry at me.
The phone got angry at you. So one of the things we started with Nightlight Stories is, as we kick it back up here, is the idea of having a Patreon. So if you're not familiar with Patreon is a website where you can go and kind of donate money towards organizations, towards initiative projects like this project that you like. If you like this podcast, it's completely free. We're putting it out for free, but it is not free on our end. We actually have to pay for the website, and we have to pay for the hosting fees, and we want to get something better than a dirty towel up there. So,
it's not dirty.
well, it's not dirty, but it's been there for a while. It could use a washing. Anyway,
oh my God.
So we're always looking for ways to upgrade and make the experience better for you. Maybe better audio recording equipment, better audio editing equipment, whatever. We have a long list of things we'd like to do to make it better. And that you can help with that by contributing to the Patreon. So if you go to patreon.com/nightlightstories, we're asking for $5 a month, but it's all free. So this is don't have to at all. It's just know that it's there if you'd like to and you want to participate.
So more importantly, what's upcoming is we have 18 chapters left of this book. So we're putting out 1 to 2 chapters. It depends on the length of each chapter. So we have a good, I would say 15 to 18 episodes left. We're also, I'm in the middle of writing a story that I'll hand off to Chris for him to flesh out. And we have one of those coming. We're going to start up Lighting the Way with Words again. So I'll be posting those letters. And if you guys have any words that you want to post under the letters that we can add to our Lighting the Way with Words, I would love it. And again, our Clues Corner. So follow along with us. In the book, it's super fun. Chris and I both said we hadn't picked up the book in quite a while. So even while I'm reading it, I'm like, no, I'm not going to look ahead until next week when I have to practice reading it. Because I want it to be a surprise. So, and then follow our Facebook, Nightlight Stories, and follow our blog, nightlightstories.net. And
you can check
Twitter at Nightlight08. But
what is it?
Nightlight08. 08, because that's when we started. But more importantly, tonight.
What are we doing tonight?
Tonight, I wanted to, I got Chris involved in this because I really wanted to read out loud. And I know that you guys, hi Tom. So what I wanted to do was to read a story. And I know there's lots of people out there reading stories right now. And so I didn't want to seem like a copycat. But at the same time, we have some cool stories. So we're going to start at 1. We're going to start at number 1, our very first story, and I'm going to read it.
But it's kind of actually different. So
It
what's a little bit different about this particular story, this is, of course,
Mojo and the Magic Couch.
is that we actually rewrote it a little bit. So the story goes like this. Many years ago, there was a app company called Flying Books.
Yes.
And they actually produced one of our stories. It was called
Dragonfly, Show Us the Way.
And they made it into a digital book that you could swipe across on your iPad. And we were in the middle of making a second book, which was, of course, Mojo and the Magic Couch. And that company ended up closing its doors. So we had rewritten Mojo and the Magic Couch, but it has never been read out loud.
Yes.
The only version you've ever heard is the very first version that is out on the podcast, which you, of course, still can go listen to. But that was the first story. We, I think, have gotten a little bit better at writing over the years. We were able to tweak things a little bit, make it a little bit more cohesive, did some grammar editing and things like that. So now what we hope we're about to present to you is the tighter version, the better version, the updated version of Mojo and the Magic Couch. I'm going to step off to the side here, give you the entire
Screen.
Yes.
Okay, so anybody who's listening. All right. Okay, so Mojo and the Magic Couch by Chris and Melissa Bouguet. Mojo was a curious little ferret who lived in a house with his parents. He spent his carefree days bouncing a ball in the air, crunching on cucumbers, and snoozing in sock drawers. He always thought it was funny to scare his mother by acting like a speed bump in the middle of the floor. He'd lay flat and still until his mother would walk past, taking a step over him. Then he'd jump up in surprise, playfully dancing around her feet while duking loudly. Duking was his favorite noise to make. It was how he laughed. Mojo liked to explore every little nook and cranny in the house. He leapt into laundry baskets, clambered through cabinets, and dove under dressers looking for hidden treasures. When he'd find one, like a lost button under a bed, he'd carry it back to his cage for safekeeping. His parents warned him that there were places he shouldn't go. They told him that they didn't want him to get lost. If he got too far away, he wouldn't be able to hear his squeak, squeak noise that they used to call for him at the end of the day. Whenever he heard his squeak, squeak noise, he ran quickly to it, knowing that he would get a nice long snuggle for his mom along with some treats. One place that his parents warned him about was the couch. Whenever he went too close to the couch, they'd wave their fingers and say, "No, no, no." Every time they told him not to go near the couch, it made him wonder why. One night, despite his parents' warnings, he made a plan to go investigate the couch after everyone fell asleep. He knew he'd have to be quick and quiet so his parents wouldn't worry. That night, he waited until he heard his dad snoring. Mojo silently peeked around the corner. When the coast was clear, he tiptoed down the hall. He moved with stealth toward the couch, looking for a way in until he spotted the space between the cushions. Mojo dashed across the living room floor, darted around the legs of the coffee table, and dove headfirst into the hole between the cushions. Wriggling, Mojo squeezed his head and front legs inside the couch. He hoped he made it in without waking his family. His back legs clawed and pushed as his torso wiggled back and forth. With one last great oomph, he made it through. As he flopped out of the hole, he opened his eyes to a wondrous sight. Hundreds of ferrets were bustling around in a gigantic party. Some were dancing to music, and others were playing games. A number of ferrets sat at a long table filled with delectable treats. The sweet scents of the bananas, raisins, and watermelon tickled Mojo's nose and made his mouth water. When he scampered to the table, the ferrets all greeted him by duking and licking his nose. As he looked around, he saw other ferrets squirming through their own holes, being careful not to wake their own families. Mojo was busy helping himself to a pile of fresh watermelon, a smidgen of banana slices, and a nip of raisin juice when he noticed many of the ferrets prancing over to form a circle around the floor. He wondered what was going on, and in true ferret form, he bounced over to investigate. He noticed that each ferret had brought something, a treasure from home. Since this was his first visit, he didn't know he was supposed to bring something. He felt worried as he watched each ferret take turns sharing the different treasures they had borrowed from their families. Ferrets showed sparkling keychains, knotted socks, and frayed shoelace strings. Mojo looked around desperately, trying to find something to share. He thought about his lucky coin, his toy chicken, and his plastic pear that he had stashed away in his hidey hole at home. They were all very special, and he wished he had them with him. His stomach was filled with the wiggles. As the ferret next to him finished passing around the toothbrush he had borrowed, all eyes turned eagerly to Mojo. Mojo nervously shifted back and forth as all the ferrets stared right at him. He began to shrug and was about to admit he hadn't brought anything to share when he heard a faint noise off in the distance. He quickly placed one paw to his ear, and the room fell silent as all the ferrets began to listen carefully. What was that sound? It sounded like a mouse, and it came from the direction of his hole. Mojo strained his ears and heard it again, even louder than before. Then he realized it was his parents making the squeak, squeak noise, calling him home. He smiled excitedly and pawed in the direction of the sound. All the other ferrets bopped their heads in understanding. Mojo was sharing his squeak, squeak noise with everyone. All the ferrets, having their own family noises, knew it was time for him to go home. Mojo stuffed one last chunk of banana in his mouth, duked to his new friends, and leapt into his new hole in the wall. Quickly scrambling out of the couch, Mojo slid onto the familiar carpet. He gave one last glance over his shoulder, back to the hole between the cushions, before he darted around the legs of the coffee table, scampered down the long hallway, and raced into his parents' bedroom. With one little spring, he dove head first into the warm and loving arms of his waiting mother.
Happy Mother's Day!
Happy Mother's Day, everyone! We hope you had a beautiful day. And we wish you well. We cannot wait to see you on the blog, on Facebook. Just come and say hi. We would love to see you. And please feel free to share with anybody you think would benefit. Again, it is free and it is completely optional to contribute. So don't feel need.
Yes.
Okay.
We hope you enjoyed the story.
We'll see you later.